Good morning, Gamecock fans. Today is Thursday, May 22nd, the year of our Lord 2025, and this is JC Shurburtt with coffee. Certainly appreciate all of you tuning in today. Many of you have tuned in this week. It's a slow time, I'll be honest. We're kind of in that contact period for recruiting just ended, and honestly, the contact period is not what it used to be. There's with the calendar the way it is. And May has always been a slow month. I know when I used to cover recruiting nationally at Rivals back in the day and 24/7 Sports, this was a month we sort of started fleshing out our rankings and Nike camps and Under Armour camps, things like that were ending and heading into the summer months when in June, July where you have camps at actual colleges and go around. It was cool. One time I got to go out to Southern Cal and meet Pete Carroll at their champions camp. Pete Carroll, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, just like a really cool guy. Back in the mid 2000s, and I've been to Ole Miss, met Coach O back then, University of Washington. Very blessed at that point in my career to get to go all those places, and that's next. So May was kind of a figured out, slow down kind of deal because all of April. And then in late March, too, you have these Under Armour Nike camps you're at every weekend all over the country. And then I always look forward to the college camps. And then July, you had the opening out in Portland, Beaverton on the Nike campus where all the best players came. You had the Texas State 7-on-7, things like that. And then you got ready for media days, and August started, and you did your rankings again. And the season, actually covering recruiting nationally, the season was a little slow. You'd hit up a game on Friday. I know when I worked for ESPN, they had like the Friday night game of the week. So I'd jump on a plane for Thursday night, go to the game Friday, and then fly back early and catch the Gamecock game sometimes. So that was the season's kind of a little slow, your preview and visit weekends and stuff. And then December, all hell breaks loose, or used to, heading into January. Now, all hell breaks loose the end of November. So glad I'm kind of glad I'm not doing that anymore. People ask me all the time if I would ever go back to it, and probably not at this point. Not that I regretted doing it. I mean, I got to see the country, and for somebody from Spartanburg, South Carolina, that did very little traveling around this great land of ours, other than Disney and the beach, when I was growing up, Atlanta, Charlotte. Um, it was great to go to places like LA and Seattle and New York and, Miami many times, New Orleans. Uh, didn't actually make it up to Chicago, but once that whole period. And here I am. The power of love, as Huey Lewis in the news said in Back to the Future. But it is a slow time. And so the point is I'm very grateful, as I was to do that. I'm grateful that I'm here talking to all you folks, all you Gamecocks and fans of other schools out there that like to spy on the Gamecocks and see what we have to say here. It's just as exciting for me to do this as maybe that back in the day. So I'm grateful. I'm a lucky guy, very appreciative. So now that we've had a lesson in gratitude this morning, or a talk about gratitude or how grateful I am, Gamecock softball. I know everybody's grateful for that. Ashley Chastain Woodard will be the guest on the morning show today. I think they've got another guest too. It just slips me, but that starts at 10. I'll stream that today on the Chief Sports app, also Chief Sports South Carolina YouTube page. Please like, subscribe, share right here if you're consuming this on YouTube. Also, JC and Morgan, we were supposed to have that yesterday, and then we didn't because I ended up going on the morning show to talk a little baseball. But JC and Morgan will go at 9:45 Eastern, and then Phil and I will be along with the show. Last full show of the year, most likely, or of the year, of the week, heading into Memorial Day. And we'll not have a show Memorial Day. We'll not have a coffee Memorial Day. So you'll get a coffee today. You'll get a coffee on Friday. And then we'll be back next Tuesday, post Memorial Day, looking ahead to the official visit weekend and all that fun stuff. So, little housekeeping scheduling note: you can also catch JC and Morgan on our College Football Forever YouTube channel. We have JC and Morgan, and we'll have an announcement next Tuesday about a new show joining our family here at Chief Sports on Sunday nights. That's like JC and Morgan, college football focused. It won't feature Mike or myself. It's two newcomers to our family here at Chief Sports, but I think you'll all enjoy that. Sunday nights, a good night to listen to a little sports talk radio. And then, of course, during the football season, we'll have that and also Rooster Rant with Matt Anderson and Alex Jones, the late night crew. There is a new late night Gamecock show that dropped yesterday right here on the YouTube channel as well. One more housekeeping note. If you're not a member of thebigspur.com, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but you may want to join today if you care about Carolina baseball, because John Whittle is dropping a review of the season. I think you just may want to read it. So go there. I think you could sign up for $1 free trial or some kind of steep discount. That's www.thebigspur.com. It's the 24/7 sports network. Just talking to John. I've known John 20 years. He's best man at my wedding. One of two. I had two best men, but a dear friend of mine and a outstanding business coworker. I don't know what we'd do without him, really. And if you know anything about Whittle, he's excellent, connected with baseball. He doesn't say things and put things out unless it's money, So I'll leave it at that. But you may want to check out that article today on thebigspur.com because and it's not probably not a bombshell or anything, but it just kind of lays out everything going on with baseball, which I'll leave it to JB and everybody else. Yesterday, very interesting conversation on the morning show with Will Crow about the TrackMan system and the failure to use it, and just a lot of frustrating stuff. But the portal opens for college baseball in 10 days. So just reset, do your best. You can't do anything about anything right now. So we'll see what happens. All right, on to football. We had Darren Usher, the director of player personnel. If you hear other schools call people general managers and things like that, that's essentially what Darren does. I even saw him quoted in an article on CBS Sports where he's called the general manager. It's just doesn't have the title right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he got it, but that's who he is. He runs the recruiting, anything to do with the roster, transfer portal, recruiting, his staff, visits, relationships. He helps with coordinating NIL, and really has done a fantastic job. It was going to be hard to replace Taylor Edwards because Taylor was excellent, but Darren's picked right up and done a lot of things. And excuse my dog. My dog may not like what I'm saying. I don't know why he doesn't like Taylor or Darren, but Red is a funny dog, right? But anyway, so we had him on, and it's the second time he's dug into this. And in an interview with Phil and I earlier this year, calendar year, and also with Jamie yesterday, this notion that the strength staff at South Carolina, nutrition staff, is a secret weapon. And I've been thinking about that and thought about it after the interview with Phil and myself on the show. Also, after listening to the interview with Jamie, and that interview, by the way, 51 minutes of Darren Usher is up on our YouTube channel. Cut, no commercials, in a great format. So go check that out and listen to it. But I started thinking about it, because you kind of look, and Jamie asked him, well, does this mean that you sort of look around for your board from the portal is a little more broad in the sense because that in the short time they're there or the long time they're there, because guys from the portal, it's not like JUCO. You have guys that come in and fill holes in all of your classes. A guy like Jalen Brown, and hopefully his health gets right. but he's a redshirt freshman. Justin Okoronkwo is a redshirt freshman. You know, Troy Pikes has 3 more years. You know, and so you have that kind of thing. But then you also have your one and doneers like JUCOs. So it's kind of a broader spectrum, if you will, of eligibility and development time. You know, and you kind of look at it, and I think that for some types of things, specifically with this team coming up, or types of situations, things is a very general term, situations. You need a quick, you know, quick development over a summer or something. You know, and for the guys that have multiple years, you're not as worried if they don't quite get there. But in the SEC, in this league, uh, you know, you need all the help you can get, no matter how old they are, no matter how much time they have left. So the question was, do you kind of look at guys, you know, maybe that some other schools don't because you know you can get them there? And what Darren said was weight. And weight's very, very interesting in football because it matters. You know, there's a offensive lineman, for example, which is why I thought it was dumb. And I'll take this to my grave, Jackson Cantwell, that 5-star offensive lineman. Some think he's the best prospect in the country. I could make a strong argument based on his film. He's out of the state of Missouri. Stud. I mean, no question. Offensive tackle. Miami apparently paid him. I mean, you know, about 6 months ago, I spoke to a contact at another school that was recruiting him. I guess Drew Rosenhaus is his agent, which is interesting as well. Wanted 2 years, $7.5 million for a high school offensive tackle. I'm sorry. I don't care who it is. And I saw many, many great high school offensive tackles. Then many that we ranked appropriately that were 5-star guys and they got drafted in the first round. I saw many that were 5-star guys that did not get drafted at all. I saw many guys that were no stars that were 6'6", 6'7", 220 pounds coming out of high school. And they ended up being 6'6", 300. I mean, it is as crapshooty as anything. If you have a quarterback that's a no-brainer, maybe you go close to 7 figures. I think Jared Curtis with some outside NIL deals with Georgia was around 900, something like that. You know, I'd pay for Trevor Lawrence, obviously. You pay for Lenore Sellers after he's proven. But quarterback's a crapshoot as well. Is my point. I mean, look at guys like Rashada. You know, that guy, he's been to 4 different schools. Most of it's because of money. The Malachi, oh gosh, his last name escapes me. Then ended up going to SC, sat on the bench, left, couldn't win the job at Boise. I don't know if he's still there or not. I think he's at some Texas school. Rashada's not even out of school. 5-star quarterbacks, so they don't always work out. And you better be damn sure at quarterback. But I think you can get there. I don't think you can even get there on offensive line just because of the nature of the position. So much depends on how you grow into your body. So much depends on can you handle the speed of the game. So much depends on how you reshape or lose weight, gain weight. You know the drill. So you're at the mercy of nature a lot of times. Plus, those guys get injured. I mean, if you think about an offensive lineman, they're bending kind of an unnatural football position in a 3-point stance, play after play after play after play, and they don't sub for them. So they wear down. Honestly, they wear down. They're big guys doing unnatural things. So I thought that was dumb, and it has nothing to do with Cantwell. He's a freak, stud, one of the best I've seen on film. But that's a big price to pay, especially when we're heading into rev share. Unless Miami's, it wouldn't surprise me if Miami's one of those schools that's like, well, we're just going to circumvent that or whatever. So we'll see what happens. But it's a crapshoot. But the reason it is to my point here. Darren Usher talking about the secret weapon, strength and nutrition staff at South Carolina. And a lot of that has to do with weight. He keeps mentioning weight. or kept mentioning weight. He mentioned weight with Phil and I. And so what that means is you're not so worried if you get a defensive end, and I'll use George Wilson as an example. You're not so worried if he's got the raw tools like the get off, which he does, and the length, which he does at the end. If he's sitting at 230, that you can get him to 245, 247, something like that, which is a reasonable weight for a pass rusher in the SEC. It's on the light side a little bit. You'd around like those guys to be 255, but for a pass rusher, you know, you're not so worried about it. You're not so worried about Devontae Miles coming in from Bowling Green at 280. You're not so worried about Xavier Hardy, who was at a JUCO, who's got some catching up to do. Hardy, even though he was a junior college guy with a lot of offers coming out of high school, talent wise is up there. Clayton White and Travian Robertson both praised him about his quickness and athleticism and all that. But he's got to get into the strength program, get bigger, stronger, all that good stuff, nutrition, all that. He doesn't have that at junior college. Even a guy like Miles, who's at Bowling Green, they do have some limited programs there. And so, talking about that, it kind of dawned on me that, Darren's there every day. He's right. It is a secret weapon. And I think that things in this department they've only gotten better, like a lot of things around the program. And this, it's like, well, why are we talking about the strength staff today? Well, it's because it's important. It's important, and it's going to be very important as far as the success or failure of this football team this year. And I say that because, some people, not any of you, but I think there's a notion out there sometimes, I'm guilty of it myself, that, I kind of look at it robotically. Well, the strength coach is good, and they'll just get with the program and get better. A lot of it's self-motivation, self-starting. Are you going to follow the nutrition plan? Are you going to order a pizza at night? Are you going to work extra hard and strain and push yourself to build the muscle or to take the weight off? And with young people, it's hard to say within 100% that everybody's going to do it, but that's why you have culture, because it's kind of self-policed and everybody's working hard, and that's what builds a team. So it's important for this coming year. And so you dig into it, and I just wanted to kind of go through it real quick. Luke Day was hired right when Beamer got here from Marshall. And the guy, he kind of, he got the job and drove down, was ready to roll. He's a different guy. Talking to everybody that's coached that knows him, just a unique approach mentally, the mental side of it, the physical side of it. Most players that come in here from high school and transfer portal openly say it's harder than what they were used to, but it's more fun and more engaging. It's different. It's different. But, at South Carolina, I think you have to be different. And I think at every place, as we were talking about yesterday on the show, every place has its own unique plan. I mean, Nick Saban at Alabama, he was different for a long time. I mean, he had nutrition and strength programs that worked and all that good stuff. The guts of the football program, with the, if you will, they invested heavily in facilities at Alabama and staff, and it wasn't. People all tend to think it was just a bunch of analysts. He's got 28 coaches. There was a lot of support staff, physical, mental, nutrition, all that, because it's a gladiator sport. And you have to take care of yourself physically and mentally to succeed in this game. I mean, it's just the bottom line. It's just like that. And it's important, because and again, like I tell the people that think this is professional football, it's developmental. And when you're dealing with young people who, their success or failure on the field depends on their physical gains, gaining weight, growing, whatever, you can't say they're pros. It's all on the job training. And this is a huge part of it. And it's world class. I mean, it's, you look at what South Carolina has working with these players on a daily basis. And I'll just start with the strength staff. Luke Day, I mentioned him. He leads it, he heads it up, does a great job. They made some tweaks to the strength program last off season. There was a noticeable difference. So credit to him for adapting. And it wasn't anything crazy. This is maybe emphasizing one thing over the other, that type of thing. And, injuries were down. They still happen, but they were down. And I'm not saying that's why. I mean, injuries sometimes are just freak, crazy madness. We know that from being around South Carolina. But the thing, not so much the injury thing, but the physical transformation a lot of these guys make. And I always talk about the Dylan Stewart picture. Dylan Stewart put up a before and after picture from when he entered Carolina in January to then right before the season. And dude, it's night and day. And Dylan went on to be a freshman All-American as one of the best players in college football and will continue to make gains. So Luke Day there's tangible evidence now as this is going into his fifth season that what he's doing works. Just looking at the guys. I mean, and Dylan obviously has a lot of years left and was a freshman, but look at how different Kyle Kennard was compared to when he was at Georgia Tech. Part of that is kind of coaching him out of some bad habits. So Sterling Lucas had a lot to do with that, but physically he's a man child. Torricelli Simpkins came in from an HBCU from North Carolina Central and was one of Carolina's, I think he was on some all SEC teams, one of Carolina's best offensive linemen. And I think he signed with the Saints as an undrafted free agent and wouldn't be surprised if he makes the team, all the way from a lower level of football to the SEC in 1 year. That's really not easy. And then there's Demetrius Knight Jr., came in from Charlotte. Now he was at Georgia Tech and he's older, but man, they got him bigger and faster. I mean, look at the strides many of these guys have made. Rocket Sanders, and I'm going to get to that in a second, also benefited from this strength staff for a number of reasons. So Luke Day does a fantastic job. And, I think that he's probably the most unique strength coach this program's ever had. And they've had some good ones. Fitz was good. Everybody liked Fitzgerald back in the day. Craig Fitzgerald from Harvard back in the day under Spurrier. They've had some good ones. They've had some guys maybe people didn't want. I don't know. The strength coach sometimes gets a little bit of the too much credit and too much blame when things like injuries happen. But as far as credit here goes, though, it's much less about the injuries and much more about the fact, these guys in today's modern college football where there's roster transition, you got to get them in and get them going quick, or you're going to fall behind. And you have to have a good guy with a plan and a vision to do that. And getting everybody on the same page, like the mental aspect of it and the leadership aspect of it, is paramount. So he does a good job with that. It used to be, because summer workouts are technically voluntary. Man, in Spurrier and Holt's era, you'd have guys just didn't show up all summer, just didn't. They come back and play ball, and that was actually a concern in the mid 2000s around South Carolina. Oh, he's not coming to workouts. Well, really? Because it's voluntary, but now you don't hear anything like that. The guys are in the building all day, but you have a big, nice building now and all that. That's part of the reason that they built that thing. But hats off to Luke Day. Not only is he a very interesting individual, but it's effective what he's doing. So Chip Morton is one of his assistants. Chip Morton spent 20 years as a strength coach in the NFL. Chip Morton had the assignment of getting Rocket Sanders ready to go physically and mentally last year. They met at 6 a.m. It's well documented. Rocket coming off a couple of injuries, including a shoulder that was serious. They held him and didn't have him have a bunch of contact and stuff, and kind of gradually brought him along. He got up at 6 a.m., came and worked out. And that says something about Rocket as well, because he's in a new place. He's an older guy. This is last year. And Rocket trained and got himself well. There was the little ankle issue with Akron. He got backed by Ole Miss. Probably wasn't that effective. Probably wasn't himself. 9 carries in that loss, but got back with Alabama and Oklahoma and played well. Rocket Sanders had a really good year. Had he not missed the game with Akron, he'd have gone for over 1,000 yards. And only Kevin Harris in 2020, when nobody played defense, has done that since Mike Davis the second in 2013, not 2014, 2013. So this school's had very few 1,000-yard runners. I don't know if they'll ever have one again. Just to be honest, because of the way they rotate guys. This past year would have been a great year to do it because Markwell Blackwell basically played Rocket. I mean, if you have Rocket Sanders, you give the ball to Rocket Sanders, right? But he did. He handled the workload, played physical, a great year. And Chip Morton, using his years of knowledge, was the guy that got him going. And this is a guy that trained pro athletes, right? So the resume is there. Nate Cedergren and Mitch Oakey were guys that came in with Luke Day to begin with, along with Chip. These guys have great reputations. I've never heard anything negative about them. They're part of Team Luke Day, and they do a terrific job as well. And then Jamil Walker also was the head strength coach at Arkansas, and came in. Had a lot of folks coming in from Arkansas, right, through the years. Of course, his son's Julian Walker at Dutch Fork, a 4-star defensive end. But there's a guy that led his own strength program that's can relate to players. That's invaluable, an invaluable part of the staff. That's been a head strength coach in the SEC. So you got Luke Day, this unique guy that has a great plan, heading the whole thing up. You got Chip Morton, who's the grizzled veteran from the NFL. You got Cedergren and Oakey, his assistants, Luke Day's assistants, and then Jamil Walker, who has experience running his own strength program at the SEC. That is a terrific strength staff. It's 5 guys. And I think to win in college football at the highest level, you have to invest, and that's an investment, right? That's another reason I think the house settlement is pretty daggum sweet, because the players don't pay these guys. Man, once upon a time, and I wish I could get one now. I wish I had this specific one. I had a personal trainer. I got in the best shape I'd ever been. I was 42 years old or something, about 6 years ago. And man, I called him the Hammer. His name was Jay Hammerbacher. So if you're ever in Greenville and need a personal trainer, if he's still doing it, look up the Hammer. And man, he got me looking great. I paid $500 a month for that, right? That's a pretty penny. But once I got going, it was invaluable. These guys don't. I mean, this is all part of the scholarship. So again, on the job training. That's, I mean, this is world class. Why would this not be part of the conversation when we're talking about money and all that? But anyway, back to football. This type of thing, this is what the great programs do. They have great strength staffs. And sometimes you'll have a great strength staff on paper. A guy's been at this school, that school, the other, and it just doesn't fit and doesn't work out. And you're wondering why your players aren't strong and they can't get to the program, and it's more of a job to them. And maybe it is a job for some of them. There's 100 guys, so everybody's got a different opinion. But the bonding part of it, that always helps the physical part of it and the competition and all that. And he stresses competition like everybody else. So I think this group makes the football team better. And I think this offseason, the secret weapons, they've got a lot of guys that got to get going. But, and we talk about this offseason than last offseason. Last offseason, folks were just hoping they'd have a winning year. They were worried about Lenore, a new quarterback. Is Rocket going to be healthy was a big question. It was a lot of toxicity. Amazingly enough, last offseason on the message boards and Twitter, everybody was kind of down on the football team. But they were looking forward to basketball and baseball because of Paul Maneri. And you see what happened. Let's hope that's not in reverse this year, people. I don't think I can take it. There may be no coffee. I mean, no more coffee. I don't know. I don't think I can handle what happened to those two sports happening this year. But at a 10,000-foot view, you look at the players they lost, and the question is going to be, can they replace them? And that wasn't the question in baseball. Like, can you replace? I mean, they obviously could not replace Cole Messina, but the baseball wasn't. Basketball though, they missed Talon Cooper and B.J. Mack and Michie Johnson quite a bit, quite a bit. They even missed the horse Josh Gray a little bit, and they didn't replace them with guys that fit. So let's hope football doesn't fall into that same trap. This is going to be a normal thing in college sports, but I mean, nobody wants that. And these guys, the strength guys, they're part of the line of defense to make sure it doesn't happen. You've got defensive tackle. Darren mentioned a 6-man rotation. I'm right there. How many games can you get Troy Pikes from Georgia Southern to get him ready to go to war in the SEC? Devontae Miles, the guy I mentioned, that guy needs weight room work. Xavier Hardy. So there's 3 guys right there. Hardy's particularly intriguing because this stuff for him is the key to him playing. There's talent there. This and also getting understanding what to do in the scheme and all that good stuff. The technique and stuff Travian Roberts is handling. But there are a lot of people disappointed that projected depth chart Hardy wasn't on it. Well, I projected at the time, but I've always said, look, the story's not written. Give him the summer. Because when you look at what Dylan Stewart did last offseason, and you look at what other guys did last offseason, and how a lot of guys got ready in one offseason to go play and play well, Kyle Kennard, Knight, Torricelli, Simpkins, Rocket Sanders got ready to roll. When you look at those, there's an evidence-based theory that this can happen. And that should excite people. And that's part of it. Now, and I mentioned you had a guy in Chip Morton, 22 years in the NFL, a guy in Walker that was a strength coach, Day and his crew. That's a hell of a strength staff. It's not just Luke Day. He leads it. He's the guy. He's the man. But these are a lot of folks that are professionals that know what they're doing. A lot of folks. And that's awesome. Shane Beamer's done a fantastic job putting that group together and sticking with it, persevering, and laying the groundwork. We talk about that culture. There's a physical manifestation of culture too, and it happens. It'll start happening right in a couple of weeks during the summer workouts. Those aren't easy. You got to grind through those, but they matter. They matter. So nutrition is a big thing at South Carolina. It has been for a while. Kristen Coggins was in charge of that. I think, yeah, she came when Will Muschamp was here. And they moved into the new building, and of course, COVID kind of weirded that up a little bit. But even during that time, she was really good, and they have the facilities in there to feed everybody. It's all right there. Every player has a specific plan. Nutrition's important, as we all know. As I know, I'm living proof of that. You have to have that with the working out, especially these days, because just about every school you face has a nutrition program, and they have a great strength staff and all that. So you're going to battle with great athletes. And many times SEC football comes down to a collective test of wills. Who has the will to go follow the plan that these folks lay out for you? And the leadership in this program, makes it unlikely that the Gamecock players don't have the will to do that this particular summer as we look to 2025. But the nutrition staff had some changes. Coggin left, went to Nebraska right after Marcus Satterfield did, and is out there with the Huskers now, and wish her the best. So Beamer made a hire, and nobody really talked about it, from the Chicago Cubs and Yemi Rodriguez. And Yemi was a director of nutrition for the Cubs, Major League Baseball team. It's not the 80s anymore in Major League Baseball where guys that look like me and John Daly are in your lineup. You remember the 1988 Braves, man. Those guys they weren't going to be on any pinup calendars, but I bet Yeah, I bet they did all right. Ken Obergfell, Bob Horner, Zane Smith, Rick Mailer. Boy, goodness gracious. Uh, Dale Murphy was also on that team, and he was in shape. But yeah, it's not like that anymore in pro baseball. I mean, it's about getting your body right, just like any other pro sports. And Beamer hired him from the Cubs. He was at the University of Rochester, the director of sports medicine there. And, it was kind of an under the radar hire. You didn't hear much about him, but man, oh man, the feedback you get now, it's arguably better than it was. Not that it was bad before. So that maximizes the facilities. That maximizes, kids love to eat. I have a 19-year-old and now a 17-year-old. By the way, happy birthday to the Moose. That was 2 days ago, and I failed to mention it. 17 years old, heading into senior year. And he plays football, so he's all about the nutrition and what to eat and all that, even at that level. But they love to eat. They still love to eat. I mean, it doesn't change. I mean, they're eaters. And so football players obviously love to eat. So it's kind of something you can tap into and bond. But Yemi Rodriguez does a great job. And the nutrition part of it, I was mentioning Xavier Hardy. There's no nutrition program at East Mississippi Junior College I mean, you're probably eating in the school cafeteria and whatever burger or pizza you can get at night. I mean, and that stuff matters now more, because everybody's so specialized and these big programs have invested in getting their bodies right and in the nutrition program and feeding them and all that good stuff. And Nick Saban again did this. Uh, then that's everything. Anybody where you work out, the Hammer used to tell me, you can work out all the time, but if you blow the diet, you're not going to, you're number one, you're going to feel like crap. Number two, you're not, you're still going to be out of shape. The diet is everything. It's the fuel for your body. So, Yemi, I can report Yemi Rodriguez. Don't hear him. He's not on a lot of YouTube videos and stuff like Kristen was, but he's done a fantastic job and arguably better. So in kind of concluding this, wrapping this up. So South Carolina has Luke Day, his guys, a strength coach that was in the NFL for 22 years, a former SEC head strength coach, and a guy that was the nutrition director for the Chicago Cubs heading up the eating. That's pretty stellar, and it's not surprising to me that it's working. And then you add in all the life coaching with guys like Derek Moore who are invaluable, and I mean it's just that kind of stuff we don't talk. We talk X's and O's and players and all that. But if you're ever wondering like how the players get to where they are, and when you need a bunch of guys, and this is the same as last year, they needed this last year as well, to have big summers and to take that step in a short amount of time to fill out your roster and have the talent to go compete for the playoff or whatever, this becomes even more important, right? People say there's no such thing as the 4-year development anymore. And in football, you're going to stop taking developmental players. I tell you that South Carolina will never do that. I can't see Shane Beamer doing that. Kirby Smart will never do that at Georgia. Dabo Swinney will never do that at Clemson. The rest of them, who cares? Just have all the players, you look around and Carolina, Clemson, and Georgia will be consistently good and everybody else will go up and down and up and down. And that's fine. I don't buy that. Football is still development. They're just going to look for proven players. No, because guess what I just pointed out? Geniuses. What did I just say? Junior colleges don't have the resources. Smaller schools don't have the resources. They don't have a nutritionist for Major League Baseball and 5 guys on the strength staff and one that was in the NFL and another was a head. They don't have that. They don't have the facilities like they have at the Long Operations Building or name your SEC program. And that's more important than just going out and playing football if you're talking about getting to the pros and if you're talking about being one of the best in college. I don't know why people just miss that. It's the fundamental nature of the sport, more so than any other sport. because it's, you can go out, what do they do in baseball when they practice? They play simulated games and scrimmages a lot. Now they do work on fundamentals. They do lift. Wish they'd lift a little more. Read Whittle's article. Uh, basketball, they're out there playing against each other. They're actually playing the game. And they do drills and stuff like that, but you're playing 5-on-5, 3-on-3, whatever, trying to score. Football, you can't just go play it. You can run 7-on-7, pass scale, whatever, but you've got to get your body right because it's again gladiator sport. What gladiators do? They train, they train, they train, they train, they train for the big moment. It's like another another gladiator sport. I would consider like boxing, MMA, gladiator sports, um, those kind of things. And football is like a big team boxing match because you train for these games, that kind of thing. Uh, and you develop your skills, but you also have to develop physically. And so when Usher was talking about guys like George Wilson who are underweight, or a guy maybe that's overweight that you got to get it off of, and a lot of people look and judge that and go, well, this guy, like Aiden Harris, the 4-star defensive tackle they're in on. There's people worried because he's listed about 255. Well, that's going to change. Taka Hemingway was the same size. He was fine. That's going to change once you get to college. You got to project a little bit with that. And while you're projecting, you could know that South Carolina has a very good group, a very good group in this part of it, which is so critical these days in order to make your players be the best they can be. Talent maximization game, right? And all this stuff I just talked about goes into that. And so, fans, you can rest your head on your pillow at night, at least knowing this part is in very good hands. And if you can take care of this part, your chances of success with all the others go up. All right. Don't forget JC and Morgan later today, 9:45 approximately. The College Football Forever Chief YouTube channel. Also, this YouTube channel live. No guest today, just me and Mike chopping it up. We're going to talk about this Tennessee thing, which is crazy. You do a little fiver and dimer with Harrison Ford. The morning show have Ashley Chastain Woodard, and then the show, it's Smorgasbord Day. So we will have our man Alex Jones, the pride of Hampton County, in on the show tomorrow. Probably just an hour on the show to make way for Gamecock softball. And then happy Memorial Day weekend, everyone. I'll be back with a coffee in the morning, unless things change, but I don't think they will. Great to chat with you today, Gamecock fans. This has been JC Shurburtt on Coffee. Holla at you soon.